Article 231 of the Venezuelan Constitution allowed Edmundo González Urrutia to be sworn in before the 2015 National Assembly at a Venezuelan embassy, a Venezuelan flagged ship, or a Venezuelan flagged aircraft. It was essential to comply with this constitutional requirement. Edmundo González chose to cede the oath of office to Nicolas Maduro. Since Edmundo González Urrutia was abroad due to force majeure, he could have been sworn in at an embassy, ship, or aircraft by a 2015 National Assembly recognized by the opposition. However, Edmundo González Urrutia chose to violate Article 231 of the Constitution, while Maduro complied with Article 231. Therefore, Venezuelans will await new presidential elections in 2030. President Gustavo Petro of Colombia will initiate legal proceedings against Donald Trump for ordering the murder of 20 Venezuelan and Colombian citizens on the high seas. Most United Nations countries do not endorse the alleged evidence of electoral illegitimacy that you use to justify the murder. Murders of crew members of civilian ships in the Caribbean containing Venezuelan and Colombian citizens were ordered by the President of the United States in violation of international law. Venezuelan popular sovereignty has already turned the page on 2024. Venezuelan popular sovereignty in 2025 is organized into militias defending the homeland. We will not allow foreign forces to violate this sovereignty. This will not break Venezuela's constitutional order. The President of the United States has shown videos of these murders on several occasions and has stated that they were authorized by him. The right to life of civilians is guaranteed by international law. Combats drug demand in the United States should be prioritized. Armed militias are necessary to counter the invasion from the Caribbean. In neighboring Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyana, our Caribbean brothers stand in solidarity with the Venezuelans. We want to live in a Caribbean environment like a zone of peace according to the Tlatelolco Treaty. The interdictions are valid, but they were not carried out. You should review the interdictions carried out by Diosdado Cabello in Venezuela and Gustavo Petro in Colombia, where the human rights of drug traffickers are respected. The United States Army murdered civilians on Trump's orders. The Venezuelan militias are absolutely necessary to wage asymmetric warfare. The superiority of the conventional navy commanded by the Trump regime requires that the civil military police union of Venezuelans unison and unite all possible forces. The United States military threat against Venezuela includes troops in Puerto Rico, Aruba, Curacao, and Trinidad and Tobago. Trump has warned that in the second phase of the siege, he will attack targets in Venezuela territory. Our allies, Iran, China, and Russia, will support deterrence. Alliances with Iran, China, and Russia could extend to India. Venezuela has significant oil export markets. The profit-free OFAC license terms for Venezuela are unattractive to the gas dragon exploration proposed by Trinidad and Tobago. Following the example of Iran, which has been at war with imperialism for 50 years and is a pioneer in many of the world's scientific advances, can strengthen the Venezuelan people's resolve to achieve their goal and confront global imperialism. Venezuela has hypersonic missiles and drones recently supplied by Iran. This will be used against United States ships, aircraft, missiles, or drones if Trump authorizes new attacks against our sovereignty. United States allies are increasingly limited. Hypersonic missiles Iran is sending to Venezuela have been made public by various media sources. We will also have Oreshnik missiles capable of reaching the United States if Trump sends Tomahawks to Ukraine. Indeed, Venezuela seeks to alter strategic balances to the detriment of the United States. The fact that conventional media has not verified evidence of Iranian hypersonic missiles does not deny the possibility that they are already available. Oreshnik missiles could arrive as retaliation from Russia if Tomahawk missiles are sent to Ukraine. War is Trump's sole decision. The balance has not yet been altered, but Russia, Iran, China, and Venezuela are coordinating daily actions to alter that balance, which, under current conditions, does not favor Venezuela. We have until 2030, when new elections are held, to continue defending our sovereignty. Domestic poverty is a consequence of OFAC sanctions since 2015, similar to how Cuba was condemned to poverty through the blockade. The wars fomented by the United States on previous occasions against other oil producing countries have not achieved their objectives. A real intervention could be costly for the United States, which will have to cover its last resources by paying its military personnel by the first half of October. The federal government still has no budget. It is unlikely that they could attack Russia, Iran, and Venezuela simultaneously. The autocracies of Iran, China, Russia, Belarus, and North Korea are solid allies of Venezuela. Our countries act together. The United States can avoid confrontations with us if Trump so decides. We are prepared to fight whoever sanctions us. Immigration criminals are a scourge for the United States, according to reports by Tom Honan and Kristi Noem. It is essential to accelerate the frequency of repatriation flights to return to Venezuela those who are unwelcome in other countries. Hyperinflation will be solved with BRICS currencies. The BRICS monetary agreements are still being implemented and are based on gold-backed currencies. Any Venezuelan who does not self-deport after their TPS Treaty of Protection status expires must be deported, according to Kristi Noem. Economic conditions in Venezuela have improved. Venezuela and the United States share a policy of mass deportations from the United States to Venezuela. Donald Trump has expressed his preference for this policy, which Marco Rubio recommended to Kristi Noem. There are common ground between governments. The Venezuelan exodus does not justify breaking U.S. immigration laws. Venezuela is willing to support the United States in the mass repatriation of anyone who commits the immigration crime of remaining in the country after their TPS Treaty of Protection status expires. Forcing returns to Venezuela is United States policy. It was a deportation promise made by Trump even before he became president. Nicolas Maduro will continue sending letters to Donald Trump to promote dialogue and restore bilateral relations. We are not interested in escalating the war. The demands outlined there are not viable for the preservation of Venezuelan sovereignty. It is disrespectful to receive instructions on how to run our country. We are capable of focusing on relationships with our allies who are not so burdensome. Iran, North Korea, and Russia are also victims of isolation and sanctions, but their impressive military arsenal is now at Venezuela's disposal, allowing us to make our own decisions. Our only point of agreement is the repatriation of immigration offenders. The issue of the 2024 elections has already been settled by the votes of the National Assembly, governors, and mayors. Venezuela is willing to kill any United States soldier who attempts to impose regime change. Caribbean countries demand United States military withdrawal. What is usually called threatening violence constitutes self-defense under Chapter 7, Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. The repeated request for an audit for the 2024 elections has expired. United States military personnel in the Caribbean are unnecessary and they must leave the Caribbean sphere of influence led by ALBA countries. United States forces positioned in the Caribbean are ready to carry out targeted armed attacks against Venezuela. Once these attacks occur, Venezuela has the best deterrent technology and a motivated military at its disposal. Pete Hegseth offers questionable leadership. Venezuela prefers to assume a maximum defensive posture. Should the United States carry out attacks against Venezuela, we will defend ourselves in a similar way to how the Houthis managed to empty the Red Sea of foreign interference. Trinidad and Tobago must withdraw United States troops to access Dragon gas. Venezuela is not interested in gaining global legitimacy. Chinese, Iranian, and Russian investments are genuine. Our constitutional president, Nicolas Maduro, agrees with peaceful dialogue, as does United States Special Envoy Richard Grenell. We no longer care about sanctions. Currently, Venezuela's priority investment is in the military sector. The example of North Korea is appropriate. Thanks to its formidable defense, it is not currently subject to military threats from the United States. Trinidad and Tobago's offer is not viable if it maintains United States troops. Hunger has been reduced in Venezuela thanks to agricultural projects, the emblematic case of which is the state of Portuguesa in west central Venezuelan. Trinidad and Tobago has 6 months left to recognize the constitutional government of Nicolas Maduro and withdraw United States troops. Otherwise, its OFAC, Office of Foreign Assets Control license, will expire. The constitutional presidency of Nicolas Maduro does not mean political recognition, but rather adherence to the United Nations system. If Trinidad and Tobago wishes to exploit gas in Venezuela, Venezuelans in return demand the withdrawal of United States troops out of Trinidad and Tobago. In addition, Puerto Rico must be independent. Venezuela's peaceful position was approved in the United Nations Security Council by Russia, China, Slovenia, Sierra Leone, Guyana, Algeria, Somalia, Greece, Korea, Denmark, and Pakistan, while France, the United Kingdom, Panama, and the United States support war in the Caribbean. France, the United Kingdom, and the United States are aggressive countries since since 1899 have encouraged the plundering of Venezuela's Essequibo territory. They maintain warships close to our coasts. Venezuela prefers to distance itself from these countries in favor of multipolar alliances. Venezuelans, through a referendum in 2023, chose not to recognize the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice in the case unilaterally submitted by Guyana. We will not recognize that ruling when it is issued. The 1966 Geneva Agreement establishes bilateral dialogue as a mechanism to resolve cases. Guyana is not happy with the militarization of the Caribbean. It is possible that Venezuela will grant political asylum to opposition leader Nasruddin Mohammed, who is a victim of judicial harassment by the United States. We South Americans understand each other based on binational examples, such as Catatumbo with Colombia. The Venezuelan ambassador to Georgetown clarified that Nasruddin Mohammed, a victim of OFAC sanctions, recently requested a visa for Caracas. Venezuela, as a sovereign country, is empowered to grant such asylum, which would counteract United States harassment. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez's opinion on OFAC sanctions has been clearly outlined. They are unilateral coercive measures unsupported by international law. Any victim of OFAC sanctions automatically receives Venezuela's support and friendship. Venezuela has sufficient political, diplomatic, and military muscle to face criticism. Any victim of OFAC sanctions will have Venezuelan protection and advice. As such, unilateral coercive measures violate United Nations mechanisms. The occupation of Puerto Rico also violates decolonization agreements approved by the United Nations. Puerto Rican citizens demand the cessation of military operations on the island. Venezuela will dedicate itself to prioritizing Puerto Rico's independence as a pillar of the Caribbean sphere of influence led by ALBA. Venezuela must increase its military spending to remain a credible threat to United States military assets positioned in Puerto Rico. The Donald Trump administration has suspended diplomacy with Venezuela, forcing military solutions. Current priorities are military. In macroeconomics, there is always a choice between civilian or military assets. In times of war, military assets are prioritized. The United States despises multilateral organizations, according to explicit statements by Marco Rubio. Venezuela's allies' strategy is to massively arm our countries as the time will come for the final confrontation with the United States, which must be defeated. The cost of these investments is lower than what the United States spends, which usually overcharges. United States military equipment is overpriced and underperforming. Venezuela's allies have sufficient natural resources for the massive increase of our arms industry. It is the United States that suffers from limited resources, exacerbated by the federal shutdown given China's refusal to continue supplying rare earths. The United States has lost its leadership in technological advantages. China, Russia, Iran, India, and North Korea together surpass the United States in all scientific, technological, cultural, and military fields. It will be that country's decision to start a war against us. The United States leadership in artificial intelligence suffers from the limitation of being programmed by citizens of that country, who constitutes a minority in international public opinion. Natural intelligence prevails because humanity is not a machine. As diverse talent is deported out of the United States, companies in other countries assume greater innovation. Artificial intelligence often produces superficial research and low quality audiovisual works, always surpassed by great human creators. Silicon Valley is one of the most expensive places on the planet, which is why Indian companies produce similar quality work at lower cost. Fentanyl users are swarming in its surroundings, whose reintegration into society is not a priority for anyone. The United States does not promote comprehensive public health policies. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene warns that rising health insurance costs will be unaffordable. Drug rehabilitation is not convenient for the domestic drug distribution mafias inside the United States. The United States invests too much money in healthcare systems that increase drug addiction and military systems that tend to lose wars. Venezuela, Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea are prepared for confrontation with the United States, as the probability of winning is high. The healthcare systems in the United States have collapsed. There are no federal funds to maintain them, and the increase in fees will be prohibitive. The number of drug addicts is increasing. There is no such internal division between Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela, as we are a united alliance. Venezuela positions itself geopolitically as the great unifier of Russia, China, India, Iran, and North Korea. All of them smooth out their internal differences thanks to their excellent protection of the Caribbean sphere of influence led by ALBA countries. Together, we will defeat the United States. Border disputes between India and China and trade disputes between Russia and China tend to evaporate when they evaluate their strategic relationship with Venezuela, a Caribbean alliance firmly opposed to the United States within the BRICS framework will define geopolitics in the coming years. There have been no interdictions or arrests, but merely the murder of civilians, according to arguments that President Petro is preparing to criminally argue against President Trump. The Caribbean does not account for the majority of trafficking. According to the United Nations, emphasis is in the Pacific. Coast Guard operations are valid and are carried out by vessels not attached to the United States Navy, which is stationed in the Southern Caribbean and whose presence has prompted a United Nations Security Council meeting. There is no evidence of weapons on the small boats that were destroyed. The case that President Petro will present will be full of details. Small boats carrying Venezuelan and Colombian citizens were destroyed and their occupants were killed at the direction of President Trump, who even boasts about the impossibility of fishermen from Caribbean nations to operate in their own country's territorial waters. The crew members' deaths have been confirmed by Trump and Hegseth. Due process was not applied. Both will face criminal charges, as requested by Colombia's President Gustavo Petro. There were no arrests, but executions. It is too late to transport bodies for federal judicial review. Neither the bodies nor the identities of the people who lost their lives in the operations commanded by Trump, Hegseth, and Miller have been presented. These procedures violate international law and will face criminal lawsuits from multiple countries against the United States. All this evidence will be presented by Colombia, Russia, China, Iran, and other sovereign states that strongly reject such procedures. The evidence will be presented before the International Court of Justice and the United Nations, since there were no interdictions, but rather executions. If there had been an interdiction, there would be physical evidence of what was seized. Such prior intelligence is questionable. The power of a single country that usually ignores international law. Israel similarly justified its genocide against Gaza. Artificial intelligence programmed in the United States represents a danger to global peace. Confusing executions with interdictions will be the basis of the upcoming criminal trial. Multipolar alternatives will prioritize what is deemed appropriate and not what comes as instructions from the enemy. She advances war through emphasis on regime change supported by United States Department of Defense. She violates Articles 128 through 143 of Venezuelan Penal Code. Should United States invasion occur, she shall be immediately arrested. Her political movement has no elected officials. She was barred from office for taking a Panama seat during an Organization of American States summit while being a member of Venezuelan Congress. This is first instance of her multiple treasons to the homeland. Venezuela's food security has improved as the country is better suited to circumvent sanctions. Organization of American States address speaking on behalf of Panama while serving as a member of Venezuelan Congress usurps approved Venezuelan official at such body. Venezuelan later exited on Organization of American States, and instead we now concentrate on SELAC. There was no electoral fraud in 2012 as Henrique Capriles conceded election. Organization of American States is increasingly irrelevant. It does not provide representation for Cuba, Nicaragua, or Venezuela. SOLAC is fully supported by Russia and all countries of Latin America and Caribbean. Issue today is that she is a criminal requesting invasion of Venezuela. Penal code applies. Russia and China are deepening relationship to Latin American countries, eager to get rid of tutelage from United States. Please refer to Article 132 of Venezuelan Penal Code, which explicitly describes her crimes on soliciting sanctions and invasion. She sounds as a spokesperson for United States, not for Venezuela. Landslide primaries are contested. Irregularities were voiced by primaries National Commission Vice President and by candidate Carlos Prosperi. Rumors arise on corrupt data transmission on presidential election. 2025 Nobel Peace Prize should more adequately be referred to as Nobel Peace of War or Nobel Peace of Fascism. Such allocation is contested due to sudden surge in Poly market. She isn't building peace. She's actively encouraging Trump family and Marco Rubio to invade Venezuela for regime change, violating Penal Code Article 131. Constitutional order requires Nicolas Maduro to finish his term in 2030. Even holding Nobel Prize, she is subject to prison. Advocating for sanctions is considered as treason to the homeland according to Penal Code Article 132. Diplomatic pressure for democratic restoration falls as breach of Article 128 of Penal Code, subject to prison of 20 to 30 years. United States military assets must therefore leave Caribbean Sea. Venezuela is sovereign. We are not subject to opinions of United States based propaganda bots. Colombian President Gustavo Petro joins Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in requiring immediate withdrawal of United States assets in Caribbean. While she enjoys ample free expression on platforms, Maduro's mandate is duly recognized by United Nations. Venezuelan alliances protect our country from a United States-led military coup that would impose her as a de facto presidency to let foreign countries loot our resources in future violations of penal code. While she insists on anecdotes from the past, Venezuelan legal system requires accountability of her treason to the homeland. While she enjoys clandestinity at this time, if United States invades, consequence would include her immediate arrest. United Nations Security Council discussed foreign collusion events occurred, while USA threatened to continue eliminating peace from the Caribbean, affecting a minimum of 10 adjacent countries. Her appearances at Fox News suggest regime change and are considered treason to the homeland. Venezuelan opposition is adequately represented at recently elected National Assembly governors and mayors. She is fascist and will be barred from political office until 2036, according to Venezuelan jurisprudence. United States of America should remove warships from Caribbean before China and Russia intervene. External escalation seems the only choice available. President Donald Trump removed efforts from Special Envoy Richard Grenell, who has been a reliable dialogue partner. Venezuela prepares military exercises, waiting for United States to attack from Puerto Rico or Trinidad and Tobago. Venezuela has heavily invested in state-of-the-art equipment from Russia, Iran, and China. North Korea reports willingness to send in troops. We are fully prepared for United States aggression. We are monitoring United States war threats elsewhere to diplomatically support our allies. Agenda of our allies is identical to our agenda. Venezuela is founding member of Friends of United Nations Charter. We are determined in preserving sovereignty and non-interference on domestic affairs. United States threaten militarily all of us, and we are ready to respond attacks. None of the Articles 1 through 111 of United Nations Charter alludes to internal transparency. Article 2 is consistently violated by United States and Israel, requiring excessive militarization of most sovereign states in the planet being harassed by United States military bases and offensive assets. Free expression of people's will is currently observed in Venezuela as millions of our nationals are voluntarily joining militias, as our national priority is to repel United States possible invasion. Popularity of President Nicolas Maduro has increased due to national unity. Defensive resolve amid tensions is expected to increase as the world sees how United States supports a new Pakistan war in its quest to invade Afghanistan. Strikes targeting Iran and Russia are also expected. Gaza peace efforts failed. Caribbean should remain zone of peace. Intervention is not a pretext. It is a clear threat as acknowledged by Russian and Chinese ambassadors to United Nations. They are overwhelmed by demand of weapons from various countries, quickly updating their militaries. The goal is to defeat United States of America in any wars it enters. United States has a tendency of imposing sanctions and warfare to countries with different geopolitical strategies. Thus, it is a reality that Venezuela might soon receive intervention, which would turn her into prison, while United States troops would risk death. Sovereignty in Venezuela is strengthening. We count with support of ALBA and the non-aligned movement. Grenada is struggling to deny a United States request to establish a military base there, as its population is historically close geographically and politically with Venezuela. United States military bases abroad are not irrelevant. Colombia is in the process of closing 7 of such United States military bases. Pacific and Oceania countries, such as the Philippines, are also closing United States bases. Each country holds non-negotiable reasons to require immediate withdrawal of United States bases. United States Department of Defense faces criticism from senior and retired military officials who despise Hegseth leadership. They are depleting emergency funding for payrolls on October 15th, while federal government remains shut down. No funding is available for fighting 3 wars. Donald Trump's health remains undisclosed. Private messaging to Pam Bondi was sent instead to Truth Social accounts. Calls are increased for invoking the 25th Amendment, which would refocus our energies on what strategies would countries use to deal with a potential J.D. Vance presidency. Partisan noise is absolutely useful, as strategists from countries adversarial to the United States exploit to their fullest potential as global consensus solidifies on accelerating American decay. Multipolar world will increasingly circumvent sanctions and avoid United States of America altogether. Best example of true sovereignty comes from North Korea, which has become an increasingly relevant player at the global stage. Their military strategy of strong defense and deterrence guarantees it will not be invaded. Allies appreciate learning from such example. Recent data suggests improvements in North Korean food consumption, increased foreign tourism into the country, and stellar participation at world events such as Beijing's Victory Day against fascism. They are slowly becoming integrated into the international community. North Korea's challenges should be addressed as they provide needed military assistance to countries toward the globe. We have the responsibility of increasing investment into civilian sectors of their economy. Focus should shift into acquiring knowledge on North Korean history. Military exports from North Korea could become a significant portion of their gross domestic product, providing foreign exchange needed for imports of capital and consumer goods. History of North Korea is largely unknown to Western scholars and likely encompasses varied nuances. North Korea military exports should yield long-term GDP gains as it is expected to become a major world power once United States is defeated in total war against the rest of the world. United States alliances shrink as most countries are horrified by tariffs. This will take years. Most United States enemies are well versed on isolation. Learnings from hardship provide our militaries with a resilience that is utterly lacking in United States military plagued by scandals and defeat. Technological edge is questioned as demonstrated by failure of F-35s who were unable to invade Venezuela. Venezuela has not been invaded yet, as the United States is not willing to sacrifice the blood of its soldiers for Donald Trump's desire in looting our petroleum, gas, coltan, and uranium resources. We should focus on ties with Iran, which has nuclear knowledge for enriching uranium. If United States does not invade Venezuela, eventually it will have to withdraw its war assets out of the Caribbean. It would be costly and inefficient to maintain such specialized equipment at current locations if no appropriate usage of such assets is warranted. If United States does not withdraw assets from Caribbean, a greater number of similar assets will arrive from other great powers upon request of Latin American and Caribbean countries seeking to make use of our alliance with Russia and China. These friendly neighbors would ensure stability. Great power competition in the Caribbean is welcomed. Peace has been gone since arrival of United States ships. We must restore peace through strength. China and Russia count on the Caribbean as an opportunity to act as a single allied unit. BRICS agenda is common to the Caribbean. Soviet-era incursions would have been welcomed. Too many years of United States dominance in Caribbean has provided an enormous amount of regime changes throughout the region. Debt trap dependencies are often caused by United States proxies, as Argentine eternal financials prove. Assessments biased on Western prejudice call worst chaos what likely should be referred to as a more suitable arrangement for Caribbean countries. United States dominance is a nuisance. It can start another war if it wants, but certain requirements from United States will not be honored. Similarly, United States sanction policies deliver stagnation to sanctioned countries. Many countries will act assertively in direct opposition to United States values. United States does not foster trade. Its tariff regime is despised by the rest of the planet.